Hey guys, how's it going? Today I have a double dose of epic carry slash try hard gameplay for you. The first part here is in the E25. I'm playing with my buddy Scotto, and we're taking out these premium tier 7 German tank destroyers. Now these are, you're probably familiar with these. The filthy little stat patter seal clubber tank. It is, so this tank is really special because back when it was introduced, there were different game mechanics for tank destroyers, and what really set tank destroyers apart from other tanks was their very low concealment debuff after they fired. So, which meant they could fire with less chance of getting spotted than other tanks. So, for instance, maybe a heavy tank's debuff after fire is 80%, whereas back when this thing was introduced, tank destroyer's debuff would be 50% or 40%. And combine that with the fact that this tank is so small and low profile. I mean, look at this. We're even we're even shorter in stature than that STRVS1, and that's a stealthy tank. So this being a premium tank, when they changed those mechanics, they didn't change. Okay, now they did change the mechanics of some premium tank destroyers, I believe. But the E25 now, like in the last video I did on the M4190 being a premium tank, and where whenever they change the mechanics across the board of certain tanks or a certain the type of tank, when it comes to premium tanks, it would be unfair and unethical to nerf those tanks in a sense, because the consumer who spent real money on it would lose the value that they paid for, and so it would be a loss. And anyways, so the same thing happened with these tanks, with the premium tank destroyers. And the E25 kept its incredible concealment after firing, which means, and combine that with the fact, like I said, with its very, very low profile, small stature, and the fact that it only uses a 75mm gun. So the mechanics in world tanks are: the smaller the gun, the lower your concealment debuff after fire. So for instance, this Scorpion here has a huge concealment debuff after he fires because he uses a 128mm gun. Anyway, so combine all those things, and this thing has crazy concealment. It has amazing concealment while stationary, but just incredible. It has the best concealment after firing of any tank in the game, which is why it's known as such a filthy stat patter sealed clubber tank, and that's why they stopped selling it, is because it was so powerful. Because not only does it have the concealment advantage, but this gun, even though it only does 135 damage a shot and 150mm of penetration, it has incredible DPM. Absolutely, I don't know the exact number, but it has very, very high. As you can see, I have less than 2.5 second reload on this gun, and that's without Brothers in Arms. That's without crew food. That's just with the rammer and vents. So very high DPM, and and it has it has pinpoint accuracy, 0.31 or 0.3. I'm not entirely. I'll have to check those. Very fast aim time. It's just a very, very powerful and stealthy tank, which is why they stopped selling it, and which is why there's all this controversy over the E25 is overpowered and it's broken and it shouldn't be in the game. And I would agree with a lot of that. It is on the whole much more powerful than tanks in the current meta. But it is. It's very fun to play. So I'm here on Sacred Valley with my buddy Scotto. Now, Scotto unfortunately died And I was just kind of messing around at the beginning of the game, really not doing much. I make a few mistakes. So I think this T-2065 is behind the building. I didn't realize he was behind the ridge, which is why I was just shooting all those shells into the building, hoping I would destroy the building and uncover him at the back. Turns out he's actually behind the ridge. So I've only done 514 damage so far. Really haven't done much for my team. But I know that my concealment is good enough. Now, there's a couple bad shots there. The side of the T-26's E5 is very weak. And as you can see, I waited. I didn't take the shot until he was behind that tree, which is very important because I wanted to make extra sure that he wouldn't spot me. Which is why I waited, because as soon as he's behind the tree, there's much lower chance of him being able to spot me. So right now we are in 4 versus 5. It's me, a Scorpion, and a WT Stier Waffenträger against their artillery, a Tiger, an ISU 122, IKV 90B, and an AMX 1357, which is another one of those premium light tanks that was not nerfed or changed, along with the change the light tanks across the board a few patches ago to matchmaking. Now I realize this Tiger, he has no support. He's out. There's no one behind him. He's out in the open. So I want to, and I know how I have very good DPM. So I want to take him on. And as you can see here, because of the incredibly low profile of this tank, I can get behind him, and he cannot depress his gun enough to shoot me. So I end up taking only 32 ramming damage from that entire engagement, while doing almost more than half his health and damage to him. So a very good trade. Now we're in a 2 versus 4. The 1357 took out our Scorpion, and now he's going after our artillery. I auto-aim there, put one shot into him, but now he realizes it, he gets behind our artillery. And I don't want to take the shot because I don't want to hit our artillery. I also have to be very careful. There's an ISU coming up in front of me. I don't want him to shoot me. I also have to be very careful of their artillery. Their big SU scum bus on the other side of the map who's going to be taking pot shots at me. Because now I'm in a 1 versus 4. Unfortunately, because it's a 1 versus 4, I'm not contesting the Kolobanovs. But let's see if we can carry this game. So I wanted to go up on the ridge to see who was, if they were coming after me or if they were trying to cap, because I didn't want to be rushed by both of them at once. This 1357 bounces 3 shots off of me. And now as the ISU rushes me, I juke it. I do a perfect juke. I come up the hill and then back up just as he comes down, knowing his very poor tank traverse that he... and I'm able to juke him. I shoot him in the back, set him on fire, and amazingly, I take out the 1357 and ISU in a matter of about a minute. That all happened really fast, but this tank is very agile. And now, to be honest, I did get pretty lucky this game. The 1357 just completely muffed all his shots. The ISU did not play very well when he was rushing at me, and the IKV completely missed his shot there at me. So I have taken I've taken about a total of 39 damage from the past 4 tanks that I've engaged. And a lot of that is pretty lucky, to be honest. But a lot of it also is knowing your opponents, knowing their weaknesses, like I've been talking about in previous replays. I knew that 1357, now the funny thing about this E25 is all the slopes on the... Now, it has... Nominally, its armor is very bad. It only has like 80 millimeters on the front. Easily penetratable by, most tanks in the game, pretty much any tank in the game. But it does have, because of its very low profile, if you're auto-aiming at it, the armor is thick enough that pretty much nothing is going to overmatch it. which is why that 1357, I'm pretty sure he was auto-aiming at me, why he bounced all those shots. So I find their scum bus, and I put 2 shots into him, and then I just decide to play around with him. Because I'm a filthy little scrublord stat patter. So, because he can make like a 360, takes him about like a year and a half to make a 360-degree turn, so I know I can just dance circles around him. So I'm just messing with him right now. But while I'm doing that, I'll just talk about a little bit of my... it's really about knowing your opponents. That 1357, I knew if I got close to him, he wouldn't be able to reliably penetrate me unless he was, using first person. And then with the ISU, I was a very calculated juke, because I knew he turned very slowly, and so I just waited till he came over the hill and took him out. Now, what I was doing there with the SU 14-2 was I realized I could get kind of a special medal, which is, I think it's the Fade-ins, or Nade-ins, Fade-in, Nade-in, I don't know, which is killing the last tank in the game with the last shell in your ammo. And so I just emptied, like a filthy little scrublord, I emptied my ammo until I had 1 shot, and then finished their artillery off with the last shot to get that special medal. Yeah, it is playing the system, but, sometimes it's fun to be a filthy little scrublord and do those kinds of things. So that, I ended up with 3,600 damage, 288 spotting, and 7 kills. So with some skill and a bit of luck, I was able to take that game down for my team. Let's move into the next game. Alright, so here we are in the second game. Now this time I'm playing in the WZ-111-14, the Tier 9 Chinese heavy tank, and I talked about this tank in my tank preview of the 111-5A, because I'm grinding it to get the experience to unlock the 5A. And I've just been having some great games on this thing. It really is a monster tank when you use it well, because it's that kind of hybrid between medium and heavy. Plus, it gets this monstrous 130mm gun, which is so satisfying especially at tier 9. The 490 alpha damage is just really satisfying, especially when you're meeting, tier 7 tanks. And you just do, with every shot, you take away 1/3 of their health. It just is really satisfying, and I've just been having some huge games in this. So, in my Chinese heavy tanks, and honestly in most tanks, other than some really heavy tanks, I like to go to the east on Pilsen, because I like I feel like I can really kind of control the engagement on this side more so than in the town. I just don't like that kind of static, linear kind of fighting that goes on in the town. And especially in these kinds of tanks, your hybrid medium heavy tanks, you have the armor, especially with the 111-14, you can just poke your turret over the edge and take shots like I'm doing with this T-54, so I'm staying hull down. Also, they don't have any artillery, which is very nice. I poke over and put another shot into the T-54. I've now put 2 shots into him, and he's down to 680 health, just from 2 shots from me. That's just how powerful this gun is. And I auto-aim him, take him out. So this is my favorite position to go into on this map. Now I look, the Pershing is low enough that I trust my team to take him out, to finish him off. I put a shot into the Yag Tiger, and this tank is just you just really have a lot of confidence in this tank, especially when you're against lower tier tanks. I put a 524 damage bomb into this CDC, and He's not feeling too well after that. So I take him out. I do take a hit from him, but that's okay. And my team takes out their Chrysler GF, and just like that, we've already pushed into their base. Now, for a second, I think I need to use this CDC as cover as I push up, but then I realize there's really no one that's trying to contest us at the moment, so I know I can move up. So, one reason I like to go to the east is because I feel more confident, and I feel like I can control engagement more on that side. But also, when you're a heavy tank, or a heavy medium, you can really lead the charge, and lead your medium tanks down that flank, and into the enemy base, put pressure on the enemy team, force them to turn around and reset. So it's just a really great position, place to go. So I push into the town, a shot into the back of the VK-101P. Now that guy is going to be a pain in the butt later. We'll have to get there. Take out the T-28 prototype. The reload on this 130 is just so nice too. For that WZ-111-14 bounces a heat shell off of me. I think he hit the one place he couldn't penetrate with a heat shell on my frontal armor. And when you're hulled down like this, the 111-14's armor is very strong. So I'll try to take a shot into the cupola on the top of the Moistion, but I have a damage gun. Even though I have armor on this tank, I missed that shot. And I try to take a shot into his lower plate, but he gets it into cover. I try to shoot his cheek, but my 246 millimeters of penetration is not going to go through his cheeks. I think he has 240 or something. Instead, what I do is I hug his side. And because I'm a much lower profile tank, I know he's going to have a lot of difficulty penetrating me, while I can just kind of hug his side and put shots into him all day. Unfortunately, both the WZ and Moistion end up penetrating me. That WZ is doing the right thing. He's a good player. He realizes that there's 30 seconds left on their cap. Fortunately, our TVP is making the right play here, putting pressure on the enemy team by being on the cap, which means they have to go back if they want to reset and have a chance of winning. Which means now if that TVP had not been doing that, probably the WZ would have by this time circled me and taken me out, because I was trying to engage both of them. Now I have a heat shell load, and the reason I backed up and didn't shoot through the wall is because you cannot shoot through walls with your heat shells. So I try to get into some kind of cover here. He has a heat shell loaded, which I didn't realize. If I did know that, I would have gone behind the wall so that he couldn't have shot me, because heat shells, like I said, don't penetrate walls. He damages my... He takes out my gun and damages my ammo rack. So what I need to do here now, it's a 2 versus 2, and I realize I need to fall back, hopefully wait until my repair kit cools down so I can fix my ammo rack. And I need to get into a position where I can get hull down to protect myself, because I'm a one-shot. I only have 90 HP, and if the enemy team is smart, they'll be loading HE shells to take me out. I spot the VK-101P. He is also a one-shot for me. Try to look for a shot, but I really do not want to mess around here, because this is a very close game, and as you see, I do take a bit of a risk there, exposing my whole front, going over the ridge and exposing my whole front to him, though he was behind the tank, so he wouldn't have been able to shoot me. That was probably too much of I didn't need to take that risk. Now their VK-4502B is pushing back to reset, and I'm in the perfect position here to counteract him. Unfortunately, now he does the right thing by focusing our TVP and ignoring me. But unfortunately, he takes out our TVP. I only track him with my second shot. Now, this is a pretty sticky situation because I don't know how that shot didn't penetrate. It was almost showing his entire flat side. Somehow that shot didn't penetrate. I have to be very careful here because the VK101P has my side, and the 4502B is on about more than half HP. That was very lucky. The VK101P, I think my lower plate was exposed. I'm not entirely sure, but he missed his shot and only tracked me. I was angled well towards him, which probably helped. And I put a shot right into his lower plate, and I missed my shot on the VK4502B. But I've now turned this into a 1v1, and I feel much more secure taking on this VK 1v1 because I know my DPN is much better than his. And I also have heat shells, which I feel like is an advantage over just APCR, because APCR is great in certain circumstances, but it doesn't have well, I would much rather have heat shells against the VK4502B than APCR, just because his armor is so thick, and heat shells just have more penetration than APCR shells. And just like that, boom, I take him out. I was kind of talking, not paying attention to what was happening there in my commentary, but it was a combination of side scraping and just being. What was very important was keeping him spotted the whole time, because when he's on higher HP than me, and I can't take a shot, I need to know at all times where he is, so that I can kite him around the building if he tries to go on one side or the other, if he tries to circle me, because if I don't spot him, then he could be coming around either side of the building, and that's much more dangerous for me. So I need to. My biggest thing there was to keep him spotted the whole time, so I knew which side he was coming from, and so I could angle correctly. Which is why I kept on side scraping out around and peeking around both sides of the building. Now, he has much worse DPM than me, and I used that to my advantage. He tracked me. I angled well. He bounced one off my side armor, and I put my second shot before he could reload into his lower plate and took him out. So we end up with 7,140 damage. We bounced 4.7k, and ended up with carrying this game with 7 kills. So that was a lot of action in a short time. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the post-game stats. Here's the E25 game. We ended up with 90,000 credits. We did fire a lot of APCR rounds, so we only got 22k profit, but we got a ton of experience, 5,370, which means 1,591 base, and I was running some boosters, so that's why that's such a big number. But because of obviously because it's a premium tank, it gets more credits and more experience. We fired 60 shots. Half of those actually hit, and only 29 penetrated. But 29 penetrations and 3,642 damage is not that bad with 7 kills. So we ended up getting Mastery Badge. It was Faden's medal, which is award for destroying the last enemy vehicle in the battle with the last shell and the player's tank. High Caliber and Top Gun. And from the WZ11114 game, we can see we got 88k credits, making net 2,318 loss, because again I did fire a lot of heat shells. 7,140 damage and 7 kills, making 1,665 base experience. We got a mastery badge, some other little medals, a Spartan steel wall for blocking, 4,700 damage, high caliber, and of course Top Gun. I was 1 kill away from a Radley Walters, but that was okay. I'm happy for the carrying the game for my team with that. So all in all, a pretty solid game, and if this is the 111-1-4, I can only imagine what kind of games I'll be having in the 5A. So guys, again, thank you very much for watching. Please, if you have any comments, put them in the comments section, like this video. If you like my video, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.